Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Gut Health Happy Hour. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to be here. So happy to be talking about gut health every week with you all. Today, we're talking about all things bloating. And this is probably the most common thing that I hear from almost every single one of you, I would say, is that there's a consistent theme of bloating and it can't be pinpointed. You don't know what causes it. Maybe it's food, maybe it's something else, not really sure. So that's why we're going to talk about it today, because it is a little bit of an elusive symptom and there are so many different things that can cause it. So we're going to go over a lot of the ways that it can present itself and a lot of the things that'll cause it so that we can try and get to the root cause of why yours is happening, because that is the way we're really going to get rid of it. Speaking of root cause solutions, if you have not seen episode 1, please go back and watch it because it sets up the rest of the series. So it's really important to watch that one. As always, we are going to start out these gut health happy hours with a little exercise that is going to improve your digestion, because I don't want this to just be you come, watch, and you might get one good tip and then you go on about your day. I want to actually be improving your digestion every single time you show up. So what we're going to do at the very beginning of every single episode is get your body into rest and digest. So this is a really important thing for you to be doing at many points of the day. So when your body senses any stress, it goes into fight or flight. You probably heard about fight or flight. So that goes back to caveman days. So if you're being chased by a tiger, your body goes into fight or flight, which is a necessary reaction. It shuts down your digestion because it's the most energy consuming process in the body. And it raises your cortisol, it raises your blood pressure, sends blood out to your limbs so that you can run from that tiger, right? Even though we're not being chased by a tiger nowadays, anytime our bodies sense any kind of stress, it's going to shut down digestion. So we need to make sure that we're getting the body into rest and digest, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, as many times a day as we can. So we're going to do it right now. The best way to do it, drop your shoulders, relax your neck, relax your chest, and we're going to put one hand on the neck, one hand down right above your belly button, so touching your ribs and your upper abdomen. And we're going to breathe in through the nose, and we're going to see if you breathe into your upper hand or your lower hand. If you're engaging your neck muscles, try and breathe only down into your lower hand and really relax the muscles underneath your upper hand. Try and breathe into that belly, breathe into your diaphragm. And what that does is it tells the body there's nothing to stress out about, gets the body into rest and digest, which is the only way we can digest food, is in that mode. So when you get up in the morning, really great to start out and rest and digest. If you start out in fight or flight, like you immediately pick up your phone and start checking email, or you immediately turn on the news, you're going to start in fight or flight and it's going to be more difficult to get out of it throughout the day. But if you start in rest and digest, start with a little bit of breathing, then your digestion can work. So the first thing you put into your body can actually get digested. So that is number one bloating health tip of the day, is start out in rest and digest. Because if you're eating your first meal of the day in fight or flight, you're already starting out not digesting that first meal. So relax your shoulders, relax your neck and chest, breathe down into your diaphragm. 3 breaths in through the nose, and that will get your body, hi Yasmin, that will get your body into rest and digest, okay? Number 2, best way to get your body into rest and digest is to show some gratitude. So it takes 2 seconds. Best way to do it is to write it down. Getting it out of your brain onto paper makes it like even more real. So in the comments, I would like, even if you're watching live or on the replay, tell us one thing you're grateful for, and I want it to be a different thing each week. Because most people say family and friends and pets, right? Yes, of course, we're grateful for those things, and that is absolutely wonderful. But I want to dig a little bit deeper and go a little bit deeper each week into things that you're grateful for. Are you grateful for your body that gets you through your workday or your workout? Are you grateful for the roof over your head? Are you grateful for the food on your table? Are you grateful for being able to work from home if you enjoy that? Things like that, so that we can really get all of our gratitude in throughout the weeks and not just repeat the same things, because you will be amazed at how you feel when you do a regular gratitude practice, and it will get your body out of fight or flight as well. So we've gotten our body out of fight or flight into rest and digest. So we're in a mode now where we can heal the body, we can digest, we can sleep, all of the great things that happen in rest and digest. So just keep that in mind throughout your day, right before you eat, right before you go to bed. So if you have ever played a drinking game, we're going to play a drinking game today. Every time I say the word gut, because I know I say it a lot, you're going to drink water. So grab your favorite container of water. Most people do not drink enough water. Even if you think you do drink enough water, you probably don't. So this is going to be a way to train your brain to drink more water. So every time you hear me say the word gut, take a sip of water. Okay? We're just getting into these habits and making these part of our daily routine. Once they become part of your daily routine, they're stuck for life, right? So you won't even have to think about these things in the future. So we're in rest and digest. We've got our drinking game. Let's dive into bloating. So like I said, this is probably the most common thing I hear from everyone in this group. So drop a yes in the comments if you experience bloating. And for some of you, it's just periodically. For some of you, it's just in the evening. For some of you, it's all day long, no matter if you eat or you don't eat. For some people, it's just after meals. It can be caused by a wide array of things. So it is just a confusing symptom that people don't really know how to address. To preface all of this, I am not a doctor and I don't diagnose, treat, or heal. So if you do have some serious medical issues, like if you have bloating combined with some other things, definitely go see a doctor. There are some things that just aren't going to get solved by tips from the internet, right? If you might have celiac, you might have pancreatic insufficiency where something is really wrong with your pancreas, you might have SIBO. So working with a practitioner on these things is really important. But there are some things that we're going to learn today that will just help mitigate your bloating. And I'm going to give you some root cause issues that might be one of your root cause issues. But until you find out that root cause, there's really no way to get rid of the bloating. So it's really important to be thinking about that. So that's why watching last week's episode is really important. I think people just naturally think of things a little bit backwards, and it's totally common and it's totally natural. But it's like a lot of people say, I can't eat beans or tomatoes or kale. They don't like me. They all give me bloat. Instead of it being the food's fault, which it's not the food's fault, turn it around and think, my body doesn't digest beans or tomatoes or kale, and why is that? There's a big difference there in blaming it on the food and just going, I just don't eat those foods anymore. Those are great foods, and you're missing out on a lot of nutrients if you're just constantly cutting foods out of your diet. So I would rather see you improve the way your digestion functions and include all foods into your diet. And I know for some of you that just seems that's never going to happen. But I've seen people reverse celiac. I have seen people that were down to this many foods they could eat, be able to eat nearly any food. Now, not all the time. We don't just want to go nuts and anything we were sensitive to, just start eating it 3 meals a day. But I would like to get you to the point, and this is what I do with my clients, I would like to get you to the point where you can have a little bit of everything and it's not going to cause a reaction in your body. This is the point I have gotten to in my life, and I'm so grateful for that. I went out last night to one of our restaurants. We've got restaurants here in town, and I had salad, bread, steak, potatoes, calamari. We were with a bunch of people ordering a bunch of stuff, so this wasn't all just me. Risotto with mushrooms. I had cauliflower, and I had some key lime cheesecake. And I had no bloating, no nausea, nice regular BM this morning. So it's possible because I didn't used to be able to eat all those foods. So I want you to know that it is possible for you. And this is what I do with my clients in the Happy Belly Method. We get them to the place where their digestion works so well that they can have some of this food and it doesn't cause that reaction. So I just want to flip your mindset on this a little bit. And rather than blaming the food or blaming this and that, let's think about how we can get your digestion working better so that these things don't cause you trouble. So I just want to go through a quick, very quick, sciencey, I don't want to get too sciencey on you and bore you, but an explanation of the components of the gut. Hi, Jen. The components of how our digestion works, because if you are trying to fix it, you need to know how it works. If you wanted to go out and fix your own car, you would have to know how it works. Your digestion is very complicated. It is a very precise and delicate system. And if any one of the components breaks down, you're going to experience things like bloating. Hi, Dana. Oh, hi. Good to see you. So digestion starts before you even put your food in your mouth. So really quickly, I want you all to think about your favorite food, whether it's like a big, juicy, cheesy slice of pizza or like a big, juicy steak or whatever it is. Think about that food, picture it in your mind, and picture eating it. And what just happened? Did your saliva get released in your mouth? You're salivating a little bit. So digestion starts in your mind. And when we are just working through our day, we're emailing and we're trying to eat, or we're driving the kids to school and eating with the other hand, your digestion is not working because you didn't just go through that whole process that I just explained to you. So if your saliva never gets released because you're eating on the go and you're not thinking about your food, the saliva is the signal that, hey, stomach, something is going to come down the pipe. So you down there get ready for it, right? So then the stomach is, okay, I'm going to get my stomach acid already. We want the stomach acid to be like battery acid, you guys. And this is really the biggest issue about bloating, is that too many people have reduced their stomach acid and then the food just sits there. We want our stomach acid to be hot and we want it to be strong. So the saliva getting released says, hey, stomach, get ready. So the stomach starts to get ready. So when we put the food in our mouth, we have enzymes in our saliva that already start to break down the food. We've got teeth to break down the food. And one of the things that happens is people don't chew enough. So then the food goes down to the stomach, and the stomach has to really have a big job in breaking down that food. So the stomach is going to also need pancreatic enzymes. So pancreatic enzymes are released, and each enzyme has a different job. So there are different enzymes for different things. There's one for fats. There's one for proteins. There's one for lactose, dairy. There's one for carbohydrates. So there's different enzymes for each job, and we need all of our enzymes in order to break down all these different foods. So if those enzymes aren't getting released, then we're in some big trouble as well. So you can see it's a whole process happening. Then we need lots and lots of good bacteria in our large intestine to continue to break down the foods. So we really want our food to get totally broken down in our stomach into liquid form so that we can absorb all of our nutrients in our small intestine. And then whatever's left over gets into our large intestine, and we need a lot of good bacteria there to chomp up whatever is left, turn it into waste, get all the toxins removed, get it into that waste, and then we need to get it out of the body ASAP. Not ASAP. We don't want to be running to the bathroom, but we do want to be eliminating. We want this process to be happening smoothly every day. We want to be eliminating toxic waste out of the body. We don't want it sitting there in our colon, right? So this whole process needs to happen properly, or you're going to have bloating, you're going to have constipation, things like that. So we need to chew properly. We need to get that saliva released. So rather than reading your email while you eat, how about you sit, do those 3 deep breaths, give a little gratitude for your food, get your body into rest and digest, and you look at your food and you're like, oh my gosh, that looks so delicious. Your saliva comes out, your saliva gets the party started in the stomach. Your stomach acid is nice and strong. It breaks the food down into liquid form. You absorb all your wonderful nutrients in your small intestine. And then all your bacteria create the most wonderful, nice formed bowel movement, and you get rid of your toxins. That is an ideal digestion, right? So at any point along that way, if things are not working properly, that's when we run into problems. So what we need to do is figure out what point in the digestion is not working properly for you. So these are all red flags: bloating, constipation, indigestion, reflux, headaches, diarrhea, stomach cramps. These things are red flags that your body's going, hey lady, something is not working right. You need to figure it out. So it's not that your body is always working in your best interest. So your body isn't like against you in any way, which people are just like, oh, my body, my body. No, your body is working for you all the time. It's trying to tell you that something is up. So listen to it and address it before it turns into something worse. So just a quick explanation of how everything works, what an ideal digestion looks, and then now we'll talk about some of the causes of bloating and what the real root cause things are. So if you have constipation, and so if you watch my first video, we always say, why? Why is this bloating happen? Then we go, it might be due to my constipation. Constipation, when you're totally backed up in your colon and things cannot move through, right? It's going to cause an effect all the way up. But why? Why am I constipated? You want to keep asking why. Keep asking why until you figure out. If you can't ask why anymore, that's your root cause. So constipation goes hand in hand with bloating. PI use, so proton pump inhibitors. If you are using something that is meant to block your acid or reduce your acid in your stomach, you are in effect causing your stomach to not be the properly hot battery acid machine that we want it to be. So if you have heartburn, it even says on the package, you don't want to use that medicine more than 2 weeks because it's going to start affecting your stomach acid. So it's meant to be a Band-Aid that we put over your gunshot wound until we figure out that it's a gunshot and we remove the bullet. So it's meant to be there for that kind of week or 2 weeks while we figure out what's really going on and address it. But if you just keep putting more and more Band-Aids over and you never take out that bullet, you're going to get sick. So that is what tends to happen. And these acid blockers and PPIs and things are way overprescribed, and nobody tells you that it's supposed to be a temporary solution, right? So reducing that acid all the time is eventually going to get you to the place where your food is just sitting in your stomach. And I know a lot of you are like, I just feel so full. I feel so heavy. Like I don't even eat very much and I just feel stuffed. Your food is just sitting in your stomach. It's not getting broken down. So we need to figure out where along the way something has broken down and fix that. And that's how you're going to get rid of your bloating, right? Overeating clearly is an issue. Like putting too much food in your belly is going to make you feel full. But on top of that, if you're doing it constantly, like of course we all overeat sometimes. I just told you what I ate last night. But constant overeating is going to put a burden on your system and things are going to break down. So it's that constant overeating. It's not just that you're putting too much food in your belly, but you're taxing the system that can't keep up with it. Swallowing air. So a lot of people eat so fast that as they're eating, they're swallowing a ton of air as they eat, and it's just that air is gonna build up in your belly. What you're also doing is not digesting that food. So it's a combination of getting air in the belly, but also if you're eating that fast, your body can't keep up. You're probably not chewing enough. Your enzymes aren't being released fast enough. Your stomach acid can't keep up. So it's a twofer. So you've got the air in there, plus you're not digesting that food. So swallowing air while you're eating too fast is a double whammy there. Anxiety and stress. This is a huge one. If I've ever had a private conversation with you, which I have conversations with a lot of you on Facebook Messenger where we dive deeper into your issues. So if you ever want to message me, please do. But what I've asked you, and I don't know if it's surprising or not, is when did these issues happen? And were you going through a stressful period at that time? Or did you have a big life change or something really that gave you anxiety? And people have to think back and they're like, oh yeah, XYZ. Because stress is so impactful on your body. So that's one thing that is really overlooked when people want to get rid of their gut issues. The majority of people think that you want to get healthy, you want to get rid of your gut issues, just change your diet and then take a probiotic. It's so far beyond that, which is why my program, I work with women for 16 weeks. If it was as simple as changing your diet and taking a few supplements, my program could be 1 day, right? But these are things we need to work on over 16 weeks, like managing your stress. We can't remove stress out of our life. We can't get rid of our kids and our dog and our bills and our job. So how can we mitigate the effect on our body? Stress changes your gut bacteria, your gut microbiome. It puts you in fight or flight, which we already talked about, how you can't digest your food in fight or flight. And it causes you to probably eat things that aren't good for you and probably overeat and probably eat too fast. So there's a lot going on there with stress and anxiety. People tell me all the time, I eat so healthy, I exercise, but I have all these gut issues. So let's take a look at your stress. And combined with that, most people who are stressed don't sleep well. Or maybe you just don't sleep well and you don't know why you don't sleep well. But in the night, there has to be a few hours of very deep sleep or else your body is just not recovering. So all day long, your body is working for you. It needs those few hours in the night to rebuild cells, to detoxify toxins out of the body. That's how you lose weight, is in that 3 hours in the night. We're literally taking our food and rebuilding the cells of our body from the food we eat in that time. So if you're not getting that deep sleep, that could be another reason. Your digestive system it can never catch up because it can never take a break. So that sleep stress combination is really big and it's really overlooked. SIBO is another big one, and SIBO is a very complicated one. It's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So you want your large intestine to be chock full of bacteria, good bacteria. If those bacteria can make their way up into your small intestine, there's a problem. And again, if the reason why you're bloated is SIBO, you still have to go down another level and go, why? Why do I have SIBO? Why is the bacteria crawling up into my small intestine where it's not supposed to be? And so there are many different ways you can go about SIBO. If you have upper GI bloating, that is a likely symptom of SIBO, but I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not going to say run out and go figure out how to address SIBO. That's not necessarily the truth, but it could be one symptom of it. And you need to work with a practitioner if you have SIBO for sure. So here is an instance where we blame the food, right? You could have lactose intolerance, which causes massive bloating. You could have fructose intolerance, which some people have. It's not very common. You could have gluten intolerance. All three of those things cause bloating, and we are blaming it on the food. But why can we not tolerate those foods? Because we don't have the ability to break them down. Most people do not have the digestive enzyme to break down lactose, and that's why they are lactose intolerant. So again, it's not really the food's fault. It's just that your body doesn't have that ability to break down that food. So just flipping it around and looking at your body and going, why can't I digest this food? How come so-and-so can digest it and I can't? It's a difference in the actual function of your digestive system. And then too much protein. So this is one. So I do gut microbiome tests on every client that comes into my Happy Belly Method program. And one thing that is so very common that I see on probably 80% of tests is that people have undigested protein in their large intestine, and the body is not breaking it down, which means you're not assimilating it, so you're not absorbing it, and it causes toxic byproducts in the large intestine that are causing you lots of symptoms. And so when people go on really high protein, low carb diets, for instance, if your body is not breaking down protein properly in your stomach, you want to assimilate protein in your small intestine. So if your stomach is not breaking it down properly, it doesn't get assimilated in your small intestine, it makes its way into your large intestine, and then it causes all kinds of problems. We can see all the toxic byproducts that it's producing in your stool. We can see it in the stool test. So a lot of people nowadays eat a lot of protein. And I'm not against protein. I'm not against meat. I just told you what I ate last night. But being mindful that too much protein is a thing, and that if you're having symptoms, you just might not be breaking down your protein well. So looking at ways to increase the function of your gut so that you can break down that protein, so that you can reduce those toxic byproducts in the gut. And then last but not least, and there's many more, right? This is not an exhaustive list, but gut dysbiosis. So this is the main thing that I deal with my clients because everybody has it. And dysbiosis is just a fancy word for imbalance. And so in our large intestine, we've got 30 trillion or so bacterial cells. So just think about that number, 30 trillion. It's an unfathomable number, right? We say it all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, 30 trillion. But think about how many cells that is. So in our entire body, we've got 100 trillion bacterial cells. Taking care of those bacteria is the most important thing you can do for your body. The bacteria are in charge of vitamins, hormones, digestion, mood, sleep. Everything in your body is run by bacteria. So over the years, it can get into dysbiosis for many reasons. Antibiotics kill what we want it to kill, but they're not picky. They'll kill the good bacteria as well. Too much sugar, too much alcohol, medications over the counter or prescription, like I said, stress, trauma, junk food, chemical laden food. So much of our food today isn't even really food anymore. It's really just chemicals. Like they make food in the factory now, they don't grow it out of the ground anymore. That's not food is going to get your gut into dysbiosis. So when you turn around and look at ingredient labels, first of all, if you just ate everything that didn't have an ingredient label, you wouldn't have to worry about it. It would just be real food. But when you turn around and look at ingredient labels, if you don't know what something is, it's not real food. So anything that goes into your body like that, your body's, what do we do with this? And it causes dysbiosis. It causes all kinds of changes in your body, and it could be considered a toxin when it goes into your body. So all of these things can get the gut bacteria out of balance. So when the good bacteria gets low, that can cause the bad bacteria to take over. It gives them room. It's like the good bacteria will elbow out the bad ones because there's only so much room. But when the good bacteria is reduced, then the bad ones can take over. There's pathogenic bacteria that are going to cause you symptoms like bloating and constipation. So when I test my clients, I can see exactly what bacteria are missing. I can see if there's an overgrowth of other bacteria, and we can address those things head on. Now we know the why. We don't have to keep guessing and keep throwing supplements at it or do elimination diets or whatever all these things are that people keep doing all the time. We know exactly what the why is. We know what the root cause is when we see those results. So getting that bacteria back into a good balance is chore number one for me. I don't even take clients on without doing that test. It's just included in my program because I feel like it's that important. So those are the main causes of bloating. So you can go through and go, oh yeah, I have that and I do that. And you can go through and go, okay, what can I work on this week? Can I try to eat more mindfully this week? Another thing that causes bloating, lack of exercise. I didn't write that on my list. But literally, you guys, your organs need to move. They get stagnant. So if you literally sit in a chair all day long, then you go sit on your couch and then you go lay in your bed, there's no movement in your organs. They can get stagnant. They're not working up to speed. And then your food just sits in your belly. So literally moving your body and moving your organs is going to help. You can even reduce your bloating after it's already happened just by doing some like twisting movements, because it's moving those organs, getting some juices flowing, and it might actually create movement for that food through the body. Movement in your body creates movement for that food. So what is something you can do this week to increase your chances of improving your bloating? We're not going to completely get rid of it in a 30-minute call, but there are a handful of things I've given you on this call that you can implement today that are free to try and improve your bloating. And none of them really have to do with food. It's about increasing the function of your own gut. And yes, do you want to do an elimination diet to reduce your bloating while you're figuring out what's going on with your gut? Sure. Do you want to take some kind of supplement that's going to reduce your bloating while you figure out what's going on? Sure. So there are uses for these kind of Band-Aid solutions while you get to the root cause. But never getting to the root cause means that whatever is going on, whatever's causing your bloating, is going to keep happening, and your health is going to get worse. Because it's not just about the bloating, it's not just about being uncomfortable, but it's about preventing other things from happening down the road. If you have a chronic issue that's happening and you don't address it now, your body will get to be more unhealthy and other things can happen down the road. And people always think, I don't know, this came out of nowhere. Really, let's look back into your health history, and you've had all these symptoms for 15, 20 years. Nobody ever got to your root cause with you, and now it's really bad. So that's what I want to help avoid for all of you and all of my clients. Let's nip it in the bud now so that worse things don't happen down the road. And I know that people want me to just say, take this supplement and it'll get rid of your bloating. But I don't do that. I get to the root cause. Because if you just take a supplement and cover up your symptoms, the thing that's causing your bloating is still happening. You just don't know it because you've covered up your symptoms. Same with constipation, same with headaches, same with every symptom. If you keep covering it up with Band-Aids and leave that bullet in there, your whole body's gonna get infected eventually. So let's figure out your root cause. So we can go down that list and you can watch it back and go, maybe I have that, maybe I have that, maybe I have that. And then we can take next steps in figuring out how to improve it. Another thing, so when we talk about stomach acid, when we want it to be strong like battery acid and hot, that means you don't want to drink ice water when you eat. And I know that's a very unpopular one, but think about that. Think about putting food in your stomach and it's ice cold. It would be like trying to wash your dishes with ice cold water. Have you ever washed dishes with ice cold water? Gross, right? It would get all stuck and hardened on everything. That's your stomach. You want your stomach to be hot and acidic. So you'll notice in other cultures, they don't even put water in their ice because they know how bad it is for your stomach acid to make it ice cold. So trying to just drink room temperature water. If you must drink ice water, which I know a lot of people just love ice water, just drink it away from food. Don't drink it for 20 minutes before and 20 minutes after you eat food. My son makes fun of me because he's heard me say this. Wine is a digestif, red wine. It's warm and it's acidic. So you can drink red wine while you eat, in moderation, of course. And my son, he's 22. Of course you would say wine is a digestif because you want to drink it during dinner. But it really is. So think about what can make your stomach the most acidic and the most able to break down your food, right? So trying to just avoid that water 20 minutes before and 20 minutes after is another really good actionable thing that you can do just to help your body break down that food better. And another thing about supplements, they're not regulated by the FDA. Not only are you just putting a Band-Aid on your problems when you take supplements, but you also don't even know what's in your supplements, which is why I really only work with two main companies for my supplements because I have totally researched them. They're very well trusted in the industry. They've been around for decades and are well known and very trusted. So I don't just trust supplements for my clients to anybody. So if you're just ordering things on Amazon or at your local grocery store, supplements are not regulated, so they don't even have to put in the capsule what they say is on the bottom, let alone have it be a high quality ingredient, right? So you get what you pay for with supplements. If it's a cheap supplement, it's probably not going to do you much good. So there's a few reasons why I don't just say go out and take this supplement. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe in supplements because I love supplements. I use them every day. My clients use them every day and they're extremely helpful. But we figure out what supplements you need by figuring out your root cause. So we address it at the root cause, not at the symptom. So on that note, anybody have any questions for me? I will open up the chat for some questions. I know I've just thrown a lot at you, but I really do want you to be able to find out things that you've been wondering about. There's so much with digestion that is so confusing, and there's so much information out there. You could Google and find 1.5 million different answers. And I'm not the end all be all of answers, but I fixed my own gut after 35 years of gut issues. I work with women every single day on their gut issues, and I've got a whole list of testimonials to prove that I really do help women get rid of their gut issues in 16 weeks or less. And I use all of that experience to create my profile of knowledge, right? It's more about experience than sitting down and reading a book, in my opinion. And I've done both. I did go to school to become a certified health coach, and I use the experience of all my clients to guide what I do with people now. So if I don't have an answer for you, I will research it and get it to you. So if you are live or if you are watching the replay, feel free to type a question in the chat. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. And I do offer free 45-minute phone calls to anyone in the group. So I will drop the link to my schedule so you can book a call with me, and we can just dive into what your issues are, what your goals are, and what your next best steps are moving forward. Like whether it's working with me or not, I would love to have some next best steps for you, and we'll see if you are a good fit for my program. I would love to have you in my program, the Happy Belly Method, so we can really dive in, get to the root cause of your issues, and get rid of your issues for a lifetime. So have a wonderful evening, everybody. Every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be here in the group for the Gut Health Happy Hour. Have a great week, and I'll see you then.